Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key at Keywond Dowell on millions.co. So, week 3 of the college football season is here. It is right in our face. We got nothing but top 10 matchups, top 25 matchups, excuse me, for this week on the docket. Now, first off, we have the number 6 Georgia Bulldogs versus the number 15 Tennessee Volunteers. Now, the last 13 matchups of this series, the Georgia Bulldogs have won 11 of the previous 13 matchups. This season, they have Gunnar Stockton at the helm, and they have their running back, their top running back, Nate Frazier. Here is their rushing attack for the Georgia Bulldogs. The Bulldogs wide receiver core, the kicking, and that Georgia Bulldog defense. Now, the Georgia Bulldogs, the first two games, they've been fortunate to play subpar competition. But the Georgia Bulldogs defense will get tested this week against a dynamic offense in Tennessee led by Joey Aguilar. But here's the rest of the defense for the Georgia Bulldogs. Now we are going to get into the team statistics over the first 2 weeks of the season. So, first 2 weeks of the season, Georgia has scored 45 points per game. They are first total in first downs is 53. Their third down efficiency is 44%. Their fourth down efficiency is 100%. Now, one thing about it is most of their yards have come later on in the second half because they've had slow starts against subpar competition. Now, although that may be concerning, they still got those wins over subpar competition by 38 and by 29. So this will be their first SEC test of the season, and I believe that this is going to be a great game. It has the potential to be one of the best games in college football for week 3, and not just week 3, probably the whole season. So now, let me shift on over to the Tennessee Volunteers, led by Joey Aguilar. Joey Aguilar transferred from UCLA to Tennessee, and it just seems like he has not missed a beat since he came to his new transition in Tennessee. Tennessee Volunteers offense led by Joey Aguilar. Here's their rushing attack, which is almost top notch after the first 2 weeks of the season. Here is their receiving core for the Volunteers. Here is the Volunteers kicking. And here is the Tennessee Volunteers defense. Now, as of right now, total tackles as a defense, they have 129, and the Georgia Bulldogs have 136 as a defense. Now, let's see what both of these offenses can do. Now, for the Tennessee Volunteers offense, they have played against subpar competition for the first 2 weeks of the season. They are averaging a staggering 70 points a game. Now, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna overreact over this, but 70 points a game, it is crazy to hear. Even in college football, you don't even hear this in pro football. So 70 points is crazy. But the Tennessee Volunteers, they have played Austin Peay and they have played Syracuse, two bottom five teams. So they played subpar competition. So now we get to their statistics. Their statistics are third down efficiency, they're 65%. They haven't attempted a fourth down play this season because they are always leading by a significant margin. Passing, 50 of 80. Joey Aguilar has been 50 of 80. Rushing, they have averaged 5.7 yards per rushing attempt. Returns, average of 24 yards. Now let's get to the key storylines of Georgia versus Tennessee. The key storylines are number 6, Georgia looking to extend win streak to 9 against number 15, Tennessee in Neyland Stadium. Georgia has reeled off 8 straight wins over the Vols for its longest win streak in the rivalry since 1899. So before the 1900s, the Georgia Bulldogs had been giving the Tennessee Volunteers the business. Smart's lone loss came in his coaching debut in 2016 on a last-second Hail Mary. Smart says it's a historic rivalry with 55 with this win, with this the 55th game between the programs. There have been a lot of big games played between Tennessee and Georgia, Smart said. So there is not a lot more I can say than that. All of the border wars and big time rivalries. The defending SEC champ comes into the conference opener for both teams Saturday, ranked 6th after somewhat underwhelming win over Austin Peay by 28-6. That was underwhelming. Number 15, 2000, excuse me, number 15, Tennessee, 2-0, scored a program record 72 points in a rout against East Tennessee State. Now, like I've been saying, subpar competition, East Tennessee State at Neyland Stadium. The Vols won 9 straight and are 21-1 since the start of the 2022 season. The lone loss in that span, Georgia. Obviously, and here's some more what Josh Heupel said. Obviously, we know the test that we have in front of us, said Tennessee coach Josh Heupel, who has ended multi-year skids against Alabama, Florida in his 4-year tenure. The game is a sellout, and Tennessee fans will checker Neyland Stadium in white and orange. The Vols are 4-4 in such games, winning their last 3 games. Tennessee defensive back Andre Turteen says the home crowd will help the defense. And here goes some more storylines. Vol Nation done a wonderful job over the years that I have been here, Turton said. I've not seen a better job done than affect the offense and affect the tempo and what they are trying to accomplish. That's it. The QB showdown. This will be the Bulldogs quarterback Gunnar Stockton's first true road start and 4th overall. He is 2-1 as a starter. Stockton can scramble, running for 73 yards in the opener against illegitimate competition, I said. He's thrown for 417 yards and 2 touchdowns this season, but it was against illegitimate competition. Vols quarterback Joey Aguilar will be making his SEC debut and 27 start at the bowl subdivision level. The transfer from Appalachian State by way of a quick stop at UCLA got an experience. Neyland Stadium as a starter last week in home opener. He is 15-11 overall and 2-0 at Tennessee. But like I said, that 2-0 at Tennessee was against subpar competition. You in the big leagues now, you dealing with the Georgia Bulldogs, which is one of the top teams in college football and could be a contender. Well, I'm not going to say could be, but are a contender for the national championship that's going on in Miami in January. So, Kirby Smart said this. He's talking about Joey Aguilar. He is averaging 276 passing yards per game with 5 touchdown passes already. Smart called Aguilar a really good athlete. You can tell he understands the system. Smart said, offensive line concerns. Now, this is the point in my segment where Tennessee may have some problems in this game. Offensive line concerns. Tennessee has not allowed a sack in its first 2 games. Now the Volunteers are expecting freshman right tackle David Sanders Jr., who missed the first 2 games with an injury, to make his collegiate debut against the defending SEC champions. Wow, this will be a big test for Georgia's defense. The Bulldogs have just 2 sacks coming into the SEC opener, compared with 8 by the Volunteers. Secondary thoughts. Now this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going to end it, and then we pick our poison. Secondary thoughts. The Bulldogs have an elite secondary featuring Dalen Everett, Zion Branch, KJ Bolden. Tennessee has a small group of wide receivers led by Chris Brazzell II and Mike Matthews. Each had more than 100 receiving yards last week. So, game information. Everybody knows that it's going to be at Neyland Stadium. Here is the point spread for the game. Georgia Bulldogs are a 6.5 point favorite. Well, excuse me. It opened at 6.5. Now it has decreased to 3.5. This is going to be a close game no matter what. I see that ESPN Analytics is giving the Volunteers the edge in this game. And I just think that I think that when it comes to the Georgia Bulldogs secondary, see, we done been having this. I've been talking about this for the last couple of years. I just don't think that the Georgia Bulldogs secondary can hold up against an offense dynamic like the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, I'm not just saying this because they are at home, but let me tell you, regardless of the competition, when it comes to both of these teams, you play who you play on your schedule. If you play a group of 5 team or a team that's not on your level, you are supposed to dominate them. And the Bulldogs and the Volunteers have been dominating their opponents. Now, the Volunteers, they gonna win this game. I can already see it. And I'm pretty sure everybody is saying that, well, Tennessee, they played against bad competition. Georgia has too. But who has the better offense between Georgia and Tennessee? Tennessee does. Who has the better defense when it comes to the Georgia Bulldogs and Tennessee Volunteers? Tennessee does. Who's gotten more sacks in these 2 teams? Tennessee has. Who's gotten more turnovers? Tennessee. And Tennessee, it's basically Tennessee all across the board when it comes to more turnovers, more defensive stops. Even though last week the Georgia Bulldogs had an underwhelming win, I still don't think that their offense is top notch like Tennessee. So I got Tennessee winning this game, and I expect for the Tennessee Volunteers run game to take control of this game. And then I expect Joey Aguilar to have at least 250 passing yards in this game with at least 2 touchdowns. So that's who I have winning the Georgia versus Tennessee game. And I will be watching that game and covering that game. That is exactly why I am giving y'all the most intriguing matchups for week 3 in college football. The next game I am going to cover is one of the games that has caught my eye for week 3. And that is the South Florida Bulls and the Miami Hurricanes. The South Florida Bulls, they have a chance at making It seems like they have a chance at making the college football playoff. I've heard that from all of these so-called experts on CBS Sports, NBC Sports, and all over the place. Every sports outlet that you can think of, they have been saying South Florida is a top-notch team. But I got to see if South Florida is a top-notch team because you beat Boise State. Boise State, they was coming in limping off of fall camp. Then you play my Florida Gators, which Florida, I mean, we undisciplined. That's all I could say. Florida was undisciplined, and South Florida, they won that game. Now, South Florida has to play the Miami Hurricanes. Now, the Miami Hurricanes blew them out last season. That was because South Florida didn't have a good defense. Now, not to mention that South Florida, a couple of years ago, they took Alabama all the way to the fourth quarter until Alabama was able to generate some separation on the scoreboard. Now, I think that this game is going to be close. I don't even know why the bettors have the Miami Hurricanes as a 17-point favorite. I have seen the Miami Hurricanes since the season has started. I did that Notre Dame game a couple weeks back. So Miami Hurricanes, they are capable of making this a blowout. It's just will they, because the South Florida defense, let me tell y'all something. The South Florida defense has been on the ball since the season started. They have only allowed 23 points in 2 games. 23 points. The start of last season, how many points did they allow after 2 games? They allowed over 50 points. 50 points in 2 games. So they are already, their defense has already improved from the starting point of last season. Now, one thing about this team, I can tell you, points per game, total 29 points. Also, third down efficiency is 36%. Fourth down efficiency, 66%. And I can tell y'all something about the South Florida Bulls. South Florida Bulls, they cannot be taken lightly at all. They can't. Because what they have done to the Boise State, and then what they done to the Florida Gators, two top 25 teams at the time that they was playing them, they pretty much just took control of the game, ran through both defenses, and said that we gonna come out of this game with a victory. Now, South Florida, they were on my radar as one of those dark horse teams coming into the season, but now they have made some noise and they're pretty much saying that we here to stay. It's gonna be a tough outing. Whoever plays us, it's gonna be a tough outing. So those are the statistics for the South Florida Bulls. For the Miami Hurricanes, Carson Beck, he's played decent over the first couple of games. He has. He's played decent, but I think in this game, he gonna have to come on with the come on, because the defense for the South Florida Bulls are not backing up in this game. And what I mean by backing up, they are not going to have, you know, safety coverage. They don't do safety coverage a lot because the pressure, they can rush pressure with 4 to 5 guys and they get to the quarterback. So they don't have to do any much safety coverage or cornerback blitzes as much, because you have 5 guys that can come off of the defensive line and get to the quarterback within 4 seconds. So for the Miami Hurricanes, Carson Beck, here's their rushing attack. Here is the Hurricanes receiving core. Here's the Canes kicking. Here's the Hurricanes defense. And now I'm going to go to the Miami Hurricanes statistics. Now, the statistics total points per game over the first two games 36 points. And that is why Miami has got the edge in this game already. I've seen the sports book. It's it's flexed up to 18 and a half. Now it's 17 and a half. So who knows? By the time game time starts, it could be down to 16 and a half because if it goes down, they are expecting a much closer game with the South Florida Bulls. So now, third down efficiency, 45%, which is, as of right now, one of the best in college football. Third down efficiency, 33%. They don't go for it on fourth down much. Passing, Carson Beck, 50 of 67, 274 yards a game. So he hasn't thrown any interceptions. Passing touchdowns, he has been perfect. Rushing attack, they have averaged 4.7 yards per game. The Canes have. Offensively, 138 offensive plays for the Miami Hurricanes. Total yards per game, 433.5 yards per game. So now, when we get to the point spread right now is 17 and a half. It opened up at 15 and a half. So obviously the bettors are expecting a blowout, but I believe that this point spread is going to dwindle between now and the game tomorrow afternoon, which is 4:30. It starts at 4:30. So the matchup predictor clearly states that the Miami Hurricanes should have an overwhelming force and they should have overwhelming momentum in this game. But I think that this game will be closer than what the sports books are projecting. And I think that the Miami Hurricanes win by 10 points instead of 17-20. Because we got to give the South Florida Bulls credit. Now, it's only 2 games, but the 2 games that they have won has been against ranked opponents. At the time, 13th ranked Florida, and the first game of the season, 25 ranked Boise State. And I mean, they thoroughly ran the ball over them, over both teams for 200 plus yards each in each game. So I got the Miami Hurricanes winning this game, but I would not be surprised if this game is close in the fourth quarter and the South Florida Bulls have a chance to win. I would not be surprised by that. The last game I am going to cover is the Texas A&M Aggies and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Texas A&M Aggies, they have won 2 games. The first 2 games, they won them by an average margin of 13 and a half points. And also, Marcel Reed has had a good start to his season. 41 of 62, 509 yards, 66.1 completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That is a great turnover to interception ratio. It is. Here is the Aggies rushing attack. Here's the Aggies receiving core. And here is the Aggies kicking. Here's the Texas A&M Aggies defense. Now, I give credit to Mike Elko, head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies, because Texas A&M, they went from a team that was below average or slightly above average with Jimbo Fisher, and then Mike Elko has came into the fold, and now Texas A&M is back to being a powerhouse. Now, one thing about it is when we look at their statistics are not surprising. 43 points per game after 2 games. Third down efficiency is 33%. They're going to have to increase that. Fourth down efficiency is 50%. Passing, Marcel Reed, 45 of 70 average passing yards per game, 305 yards. Rushes, yards per rush attempt, 5 yards per rush. That's 5 yards every running play. Total offensive plays, 140. Total offensive yards, 953. Already 953 yards per game, 476.5. So now, when we get to both of these teams, Notre Dame, I'm going to get to Notre Dame. CJ Carr, he had a good game. CJ Carr. And then you have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, a team that has only played one game and pretty much it seemed like they were on a bye week. That's what it seems like, because since they've played Miami, they haven't played another game at all. And I'm going to show y'all their schedule, because you see this, just so you know that I am accurate. August 31st, they took a week off, came back, and now they are playing Texas A&M. And let me give you all the statistics. CJ Carr, here is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish rushing attack. Here is the Fighting Irish receiving corps. Here is the Fighting Irish kicker. Here is the Notre Dame defense. As a defensive unit, they only have 68 tackles. Now, they've only played one game. Now, let's see, by that one game, they only scored 24 points in that one game. Third down efficiency, they were 4 of 9 versus the Miami Hurricanes. Passing, 19 of 30. Passing yards, 221. They only played one game. Interceptions, they had 2. And passing touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. Now when we get to the offense and rushing attack, 3.3 yards per game. Total, when it comes to returns, 15 yards per game. And we get to the point where the storylines, when it comes to this matchup. So, storylines. Early loss leaves Notre Dame, number 8 Notre Dame, with an early season test against number 16 Texas A&M. South Bend, Notre Dame hasn't even taken a snap on its home turf, and coaches and players are already using the word urgency. Early season losses do that to a playoff hopeful. Something nobody knows better than the Fighting Irish, who lost to Marcus Freeman's debut in 2022 and in week 2 last season. So for the third time in 4 years, the Notre Dame 0-1 will spend Saturday trying to get its season back on track. Number 16 Texas A&M 2-0 comes to town. It's a lesson that the Irish have learned the hard way. Last year gives us confidence. This is what the coach has said. Last year gives us confidence playing teams like playing NFL caliber guys and playing ranked top 10 teams. Running back Jadarian Price said when asking about starting the season against two ranked teams, it just makes us feel good as a team and just getting better every week, and also shaking off all the haters saying our schedule is not the hardest. Irish players certainly have been here before. So that's what the players are saying when it comes to Notre Dame. And here it is. In Marcus in 2022, Freeman lost his first two games, 21-10 at Ohio State, 26-21 at home against Marshall. 2023 season was undone by two mid-season losses during a three-game stretch, the Buckeyes and Louisville. And after winning 23-13 against Texas A&M last season, the Irish inexplicably fell to Northern Illinois in week 2, 16-14, a result that threatened to dash Notre Dame's playoff hopes yet again, but the Irish rebound with 13 wins before falling to Ohio State in the national championship game. Now, Notre Dame, you can't keep starting off the season 1-0 or 0-2. You can't start off the season like that. This time, Notre Dame rallied from 21-7 deficit at then number 10 Miami. It tied the score at 24. CJ Carr's 7-yard touchdown with 3 minutes 21 seconds only to give up the go-ahead field goal to the Hurricanes on the final drive. Carr was a solid 19 of 30 with 221 yards passing, with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception in his first college start. Now, after taking a bye week to contemplate corrections, Freeman is more willing to unleash Carr against the Aggies 2-0, knowing that a 0-2 start could knock them out of the playoff picture before the season kicks into high gear. I think, this is what they were saying, I think from what we learned last year, there's a sense of urgency week in and week out, said Price, who led Notre Dame with 45 yards rushing against Miami. It doesn't matter who we're playing. That's what they say. It doesn't matter who they playing. They're trying to stay grounded. Here's some more key storylines. The Irish need more from their running game than they had in week 1, particularly from preseason All-American Jeremiah Love, who only had 33 yards on 10 carries. Texas A&M coach Mike Elko knows how challenging this matchup will be. It is as talented as a duo as I've played against. Elko said, the only thing that I can remember in the ballpark when I was actually at Notre Dame and we played Nick Chubb and Sony Michel at Georgia, that group was really talented, but these two kids are really, really good. Does that mean double trouble? Here's some more storylines. Aggies rely heavily on quarterback Marcel Reed, who averages 5.8 yards per carry while throwing the ball for 509 yards and 7 TDs in the first 2 games. He took over as the starter midway through last season after rallying the Aggies to a 38-23 victory against number 8 LSU and former Irish head coach Brian Kelly. Reed left in the third quarter of last week's 44-22 victory against Utah State with an undisclosed injury, though he's expected to start Saturday, but the bigger challenge will be facing an opponent as talented as the Irish after opening the season with UTSA and Utah State. Illegitimate competition, America. So everybody Everybody who I'm covering this weekend has played illegitimate competition the first two games. This will be a test for everybody. It'll be a test for Georgia versus Tennessee and vice versa. South Florida versus Miami and vice versa. Texas A&M and Notre Dame and Texas A&M and vice versa. So, the point that I'm trying to make is that these three games, they hold weight when it comes to shaking up the rankings. Because South Florida, they can easily win. Well, I'm not going to say easily, but South Florida, if South Florida wins over Miami, you just beat the number 5 team in the country. More than likely, you are a top 10 team no matter what, because South Florida 18 and Miami is number 5. Now, historically, the number 18th team in college football, in the college football rankings, has only beaten the number 5 team, well, a top 5 team, only 29 times in college football history. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but we all know what the South Florida Bulls, we all know how they play now. They are just going to run the ball, monk the game up, make the game look ugly, keep it close, and then in the end, they are going to try and win. Now, one thing I can say, I'm going to get to this game in a minute. I am going to get back to the Texas A&M Aggies and Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Fighting Irish are a 6.5 point favorite right now. The point spread first opened up at 9.5. Do I think that the Texas A&M Aggies will win this game? I think that as far as the offense, they will have success. I do think that. But Notre Dame, I just can't see Notre Dame going down 0-2. And I know it's quite a few of you out there that agree with me. As far as my audience, they know how I am when it comes to the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, the first 2 weeks in college football, they hold so much weight. It's different than what you see in the pros. But as of right now, Notre Dame, you can't lose this game versus Texas A&M, because if you do, that will be a loss against a top 25 team. You will have to win your remaining games to even have a chance at making the playoffs. And I'm just going to say this. We will have a 3-loss team in the college football playoff. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say 4, because we have a 12-team college football playoff now. We do. And in the coming years, that might increase to 14. So it may be a team where they could be on a hot streak at the end of the season, go 8-4 or 9-3, and get into the playoffs with a 3-loss record. So I'm going to tell y'all who I got. I'm going to go down a list and give everybody a refresher before we end today's show. For Georgia, number 6 Georgia versus number 15 Tennessee, I got Tennessee winning that game. For the second game, number 18 South Florida versus number 5 Miami, I got the Canes winning that game. And for the final game, number 16 Texas A&M versus number 8 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, I got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish winning that game. And that is my predictions for week 3 of the college football season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key at Keywond Dowell on millions.co. And remember, everybody, one last thing. Remember, the key is always on time.